Hello again, watch friends. Welcome back. Have you ever asked yourself, what is a field watch? Is it merely a watch you trust to take with you in the field? Or is it a particular style? I think there are no real clear-cut rules. Many current field watches are modeled after early military pieces and have the ability to withstand water, mud, extreme temperatures, and other adverse field conditions. They're usually easy to read, more often than not have Arabic numerals and large contrasting markers, have good to great lume, and have reliable, if not all that exciting, movements that offer hacking, which of course is stopping the second hand for syncing with fellow adventurers. Also, 13 to 24 numbering is common to aid in seeing military time. And cases should protect movements from hard knocks. So simplicity, durability, and legibility sums it up. By the way, regarding lume, if we're talking about military watches, then bright lume may not be a great idea, as it would call attention to the person wearing it. Not so keen in a combat or tactical situation. Here are two watches that I think are worthy of taking into the field and that meet the requirements of a field watch. There are many other field watches from Victorinox, Swiss Army, Citizen, Timex, Glycine, Vostok, Luminox, and others also qualify for the label. Casio G-Shocks are probably the ultimate field watches, quartz of course. I own a few, and they are rugged as heck. And I guess you could call the Rolex and Smith's watches that were worn on the first Mount Everest climb field watches. You can't get much more in the field than climbing the world's tallest mountain. By the way, the images of the 1950s Avia field watch, the Warmex vintage Swiss field watch, and the early 1960s Seconda badged Vostok 2209 field watch were all borrowed from What You Seek and contributor ODark30. Thank you. So what do we have? On the left is the Seiko SNK809, the Seiko 5 model. And on the right is the Hamilton Khaki Mechanical, a manual wound version of the Hamilton. So let's first talk about the Seiko 5. It's an automatic day date. It has no hacking. In other words, you cannot stop the second hand when you set the time. And you can't even use the so-called cheat hacking. Some watches allow you to, when you pull the crown out, to move it backwards just a hair, and you can momentarily stop the second hand to accomplish a similar thing to hacking. You can't do that with this Seiko 5. It's a 37 millimeter diameter watch. It's 10.5 millimeters thick. And it's got an 18 millimeter strap, which I think matches very nicely the size of the watch. Lug to lug on the Seiko is 42.6 from here to here. In other words, the two ends of the lug points, 42.6. Water resistance is 30 meters on the Seiko. And the movement is the 7S26C with a 40-hour power reserve. Notice on the back, it's got a see-through case back This movement really isn't much to speak of. You can see the rotor there as I move the watch around. You see the rotor move. So I'm not sure why I did a see-through case back on this watch, other than just to be able to see part of the movement. The Hamilton is like I said, manual wound. It's 38 millimeters in diameter, so it's just a hair bigger than, well, it's a couple of hairs bigger, 38 versus 37 on the Seiko. So it's 38 millimeters diameter, 9.5 millimeters thick, so it's actually thinner than the Seiko. Let's see if we can get a, there we go. It's thinner than the Seiko. Notice the signed crown there. And it's got a 20 millimeter strap. Now, this is not the original strap. I think the original strap that came with this watch is somewhat ugly, and that's why I replaced it. You can see the original strap above in the publicity shot. The back of the Hamilton is a solid case back, screw down. The lug-to-lug distance is longer on the Hamilton. It's 47.2, about 5 millimeters longer than the Seiko. It's got 50 meter water resistance, so it's about 150 feet versus 100 feet or so. And it's got an ETA 2804-2 manual wound movement inside with a 46-hour power reserve. And that's the Hamilton. So, what do I like about the Seiko? Well, I didn't mention the price, and that's probably one of the biggest advantages of the Seiko. The street price of the Seiko is about $60, maybe even less, depending upon what color you get. It comes in 4 different colors. It's got blue, black, beige, and green, I think. So it's $60 street price on the Hamilton is $250 street price. So it's 4 or 5 times more expensive than the Seiko. In addition to the price on the Seiko, I like the readability, and that red tip second hand is really cool. I think it's just an overall nice aesthetic. You got the date and the day, the second hand. Not a spectacular movement, but nice looking watch. So I like the readability, and I like the tasteful design. The off-center crown on the Seiko at 4 o'clock. Seiko's known for that over the last 4, 5, 6 decades. One thing nice about that is that it's less likely to catch on your wrist as you bend your wrist. So that's a nice touch that they would put the crown there. So since this is an automatic watch, got no manual wind, if you wear it, continue to wear it, it'll keep running. If you take it off for more than a couple of days, it's going to stop. What don't I like about the Seiko? Well, it's got kind of a cheesy strap. Now, if you look at the picture above, shortly, you'll see the original strap that came with the Hamilton. That's also cheesy, so I'm not sure which has more cheese, but they're both in the cheese category. And I think maybe the strap is a little bit too narrow, although it does sort of fit the aesthetic, this 18 millimeter strap. But, I don't know. That's, I guess, personal taste. I already mentioned the exhibition case back. Not sure why that's the case, but, you know, it's it is, there's the movement. And as I mentioned, this watch needs to be worn to keep working. Now, Hamilton. What do I like about the Hamilton? Well, first of all, the crown is a nice beefy crown. It's got an excellent feel to it. It's easy to grip and wind, especially when you're not wearing gloves like I am now. The crown is excellent. It's signed. It's a nice little touch. Brushed, you can see Seiko on top, the Hamilton on the bottom. Both have brush cases. The Hamilton has, unlike the Seiko, the Hamilton's got 13 to 24 numbers on a dial in addition to 1 to 12. That's a nice touch. It really fits in with the field watch aesthetic, so you can also do military time, especially if you're learning at military time. Very handy. It is military inspired, also very readable. In fact, it's maybe a little bit more readable than the Seiko, mainly because the numbers are larger, and there's perhaps less clutter on the Hammy than on the Seiko 5. And the Hamilton just feels, I think, more robust than the Seiko 5. But again, it's 4 or 5 times the price. What don't I like about the Hamilton? Well, it's a manual wind. I like it. I actually like manual wind watches. I have quite a few. I feel a connection with the watch. Every morning when I wind the watch, give it 25 or 30 winds, and I know I'm all set for the day. It, like I said, it gives me a connection with the watch. I feel like I'm doing something, whereas just the Seiko, it's just automatic. You put it on, and you're good to go. And there's that less of a connection, less interaction. So I like the hand wind of the Hamilton, but I know some people don't like hand wound watches, so that could be a negative. Secondly, the Hamilton's got the date. Now it's just a date only, and I think it's really kind of tasteful, but there are people who don't like dates on watches. So this is not a dress watch, so we don't have to worry about it ruining the look of the watch or the aesthetic of the dial. But some people would not like the date. Now I just learned recently that apparently there's a new version or another version of this watch, of the Hamilton Khaki, that basically looks the same as this but does not have the date. So I don't have any more information on that, but apparently that's something that's coming or has arrived. I'm reading that it's only in Japan right now, although with the various sources, you should be able to pick it up in the near future if that's the kind of watch you want. So, in summary, is the Hammy worth it? Worth 4 or 5 times the price of the Seiko 5? That's hard to say. The Seiko is really hard to beat, especially because it could be your first automatic watch. Or, and I've actually done this, I've given this watch, not this exact watch, this is my watch, but I've given this model of watch to several family members who are not into watches, or at least not into mechanical watches, and it's an inexpensive way for people to try it out, a automatic mechanical watch. So in that sense, it's really excellent, and it's hard to beat. On the other hand, if you want to step up in quality, I think, and you want something that looks more in tune with the military inspired motif, and especially if you replace the band like I did here, the Hamilton is really a nice watch. And I think this really fits the mode of a field watch more than the Seiko. but it's up to you to decide. So there you have it. 2 watches, a pair of field watches actually. The Seiko SNK809 and the Hamilton Khaki Mechanical 694-19933. So, what do you think of these 2 field watches? Do you like one or the other? Or both? Or neither one? Feel free to share your comments below on what you think of these watches, or perhaps what you think is a good example of a field watch that's not too expensive. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, and of course you can always subscribe to be notified of future content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.